Good morning, fathers of daughters. This is Ephraim Martin, and welcome to another live stream at Grow Dad YouTube channel. All fathers are welcome, regardless of your ethnic group, background, and or culture. Mi amigos, bienvenido. En aquí, hoy. Gracias. All right, fathers, we're here for another live stream. We got a good one today, fathers. Today, what we're going to be covering is consistency, fathers. So when I talk about consistency, fathers, what am I talking about? I'm talking about our everyday lives with our baby girls, right? Fathers, our everyday lives with our baby girls are going to be challenging, but as long as we're consistent, we're going to be okay. Consistency, right? From the time that they're born to their 18 years of age, we have to rear these baby girls. We have to raise these baby girls. We have to make them feel loved, validated, and everything in between, fathers. So consistency, fathers, is what's going to get our daughters from birth to 18 to graduating from high school. Because one of our goals should be graduating them from high school. Other goals should be making sure they end up turning out to be decent human beings with compassion, empathy, kindness, love, unconditionally. So that's what we're going to discuss today, fathers. I am the father. I'm a grow dad. I am the father of 4 adult daughters, 36, 30, 26, and 24. I have adult women now. Love them girls. Love them girls. And it was a great journey. So now I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor now that they're adult women in their professions, doing their thing, living their best lives. So fathers, when we talk about consistency, we have to learn what that looks like. But the good thing about it is, fathers, we get to set what consistency looks like, right? Let's talk about validation for a second. Validating our daughters in every way, shape, or form. Validation is one of the key elements of making sure that our daughters feel loved. They will definitely need to be validated, fathers, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. We must validate their feelings. We must validate them, because if we don't, there's other men that are waiting out there to validate them. So fathers, when it comes to consistency, 100% on us, right? We are going to lead them. We are going to guide them. We are going to embrace them. We are going to love them unconditionally. That's consistency, fathers. Being a part of their routines when they're babies, birth to 10, making sure when they first come into this world that we participate in grooming. We participate in bathing them, changing their diapers, getting up with them in the middle of the night, switching off with the mothers, right? Because it's not going to be easy for the mothers. It is not, right? So what we need to do as far as consistency, fathers, is make sure that we communicate with the mothers of our daughters, whether we're married or divorced or single fathers. We need to make sure that we are in contact with the mothers of our children, okay? That needs to be consistent as well, because if we don't, things can happen with our baby girls. Consistency through our lens as fathers. It's going to look different culturally, right? I don't speak for all cultures. I'm a Black American, so I can only speak for my ethnic group. But what I do know, consistency amongst fathers, regardless of your ethnic group, background, and or culture, it's needed in our households. We are the lead. Our daughters are looking to us for protection and safety. So fathers, we have a lot on our plate. But the good thing is, as we learn when we're raising these baby girls and they're teaching us, it's a beautiful thing. Life is going to be great for us, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. We will have days of frustration. We will have days that we want to quit. We will have days that we want to give up. And the reason we're going to have those days And the reason that it's perfectly okay to have those days, fathers, is because we're human, right? Yes, we are going to be those supermen, but we're also going to be vulnerable men at times. We don't want to see pain and suffering with our children, particularly with our baby girls. We're going to have to learn how to deal with their emotional highs and their emotional lows, right? We're going to have to learn how to make adjustments, fathers. We're going to have to learn how to listen with an open heart. We're going to have to learn how to lead them the way they need to be leaded. Okay? So, fathers, yes, we do have a lot on our plates, but it's going to make us better men. I can promise you it's going to make us better men. It's going to force us to pull deep inside our souls. It's going to make us recognize our own childhood as little boys. So, fathers, when it comes to consistency, we're going to dictate what it looks like. We're going to implement what it looks like. We're going to follow through what it looks like. Okay, fathers? So I have some great videos today, fathers, that I'm going to share with you. I think I got about 9 videos, okay? They're all short videos, 6 to 8 minutes. So I just want you to hang in there with this live stream, fathers, and feel free to leave comments. Definitely subscribe, like, share my videos with all fathers or anyone who can benefit, okay? As a girl dad, I've been through every stage of development, been there, done it. So I do understand the sense of urgency that fathers, we need to have in order to build sustainable long-term relationships with our daughters. Okay, fathers? So it begins with consistency, dads. All right, fathers, let me get the first video set up. I'm going to do the first 3 videos back to back, and then I'll come back and I'll give you my commentary on it, okay? So let's get this first video set up, fathers. Welcome and thank you for being present. Okay, fathers, video number 1.
One of the biggest challenges parents struggle with is being consistent in setting expectations and following through on rules. As your child grows and develops, they start to gain independence and confidence, something every parent wants. Parents also need to provide boundaries to keep their children safe and give them a sense of security. Simply put, looking out for your children lets them know you love and care for them. Being consistent in your rules lets your child know what behavior and actions are appropriate and what are not. Children are smart and will test your rules. So if you only sometimes enforce a rule, they will consistently challenge you, which can lead to tantrums and power struggles between you and your child. And of course, when there's 2 parents, it's even harder to be consistent. Both of you at the earliest stages should talk about what rules you agree on and which you do not. Being on the same page with the most important and bigger issues will make both your lives easier. This might include things such as bedtimes, respectful language, helping out at home, getting ready for school, homework, or limiting screen and video time. Communication and consistency are both keys to setting expectations and enforcing rules, which will help you feel better about being an effective parent.
Hello, good parents, and welcome to Parenting Tips and Tricks. Today, I'm talking about consistency in parenting. I'm going to explain why it's important to have consistency in most aspects of your life when raising your kids, and state 3 major consistencies you should have if you want your child to be happy disciplined, and healthy inside and out. Without further ado, here's number 1: consistency in routines. It's important to have the same routines most workdays and more or less structured weekends as well. This helps your child achieve calmness opposed to the chaotic, unpredictable, anxious feeling children without any type of routines have. Routines help children in forming healthy habits such as being neat and organized, having personal hygiene, and planning ahead. It is very likely children with well organized days and predictable daily activities will form their own healthy routines and have healthy habits as they grow older and more independent. Number 2 is consistency in rules. This means having the same or very similar rules apply in every situation and surroundings, whether it be your home, the park, school, the supermarket, or while visiting family. This helps your child make good choices and decisions, as well as always being aware of the importance of appropriate behavior and knowing exactly what appropriate behavior means and what it is. Having consistent rules also helps children while adapting to the world around them and making them feel like they are in control because they know what is expected of them at all times. Having consistent basic rules of behavior and expecting your kids to follow them and understand why they should is very likely to result in your kids being responsible and making good choices and decisions even when you're not around. And the last important one is consistency among caregivers. This means that all the child's caregivers, such as parents, older siblings, grandparents, nannies, and teachers, should basically have the same or very similar rules and same or similar attitudes towards discipline and rules, as well as similar ways of raising the child in general. This helps the child develop morals and values. It is important that the caregivers communicate and agree on the ways they should raise the child because, for example, not getting sweets before dinner at home but getting sweets before dinner at grandmother's place makes the child more prone to manipulating the adults around them because they have realized there is a way to get what they want. If the child's caregivers all agree on the same or similar way of raising the child, the kid is equally attached to all caregivers and respects the decision of each one of them. So, those are the 3 main areas in life I believe parents should be consistent in. But what happens when there's a lot, and this really means a lot of inconsistency? When succumb to inconsistent routines, rules, attitudes of caregivers, and other inconsistencies, children surrender to manipulation, aggression, passivity, anxiety, lack of motivation, and many other things. This is why you have to try your best to be as consistent as possible and avoid all these things becoming a part of your child's personality. And this was it for today. Thank you all for watching. Click the subscribe button, like this, and share it with your friends. See you next time and keep growing. Bye!
Welcome to my channel, Authentic Expressions. This is me, Gek Lim. Today's video will focus on parenting with respect and consistency. Many of us did not get the rule book or the memo on parenting with respect and consistency. As parents, we fumble through parenting without effective strategies, and hence we encounter unnecessary angst, anxiety, and tension as parents. Every parent makes deposits in the emotional bank accounts of their children. It is very important to parent in a way that teaches responsibility and make children feel loved. When parenting with respect, children feel safe, secure, and protected. Effective parenting helps children excel and reach their full potential. Important to learn to walk away from the conversation. Hanging around will only invite further negotiation, deliberation, debate, and belabor the point. When you walk away, it conveys that you have already stated your point. Example, can I play with the iPad for another half an hour? Your response could be, well, I'm sure you remember the rules on iPad time. Then walk away. Walking away will also convey your final decision at that point. When delivering a point, make your request short, sweet, and to the point. Fewer words are better than lengthy sentences or paragraph sentences or run-on sentences that goes on forever. If you want people to hear you, deliver your request or thought in 1 or 2 sentences. Avoid delivering your request in paragraph form, as the content will be lost and people will not hear you and be turned off by the negative, meandering conversations. Example, I feel encouraged when you listen to understand my point rather than challenge my point. I like it when we have open, honest conversations with each other. Avoid saying things like, how many times do I have to remind you to do this? As usual, you don't follow up. You always ignore me. Children will turn you off when you go into these meandering negative reminders. If you commit to something, do it. If you state that you will take away a privilege for irresponsible behaviors, implement it. For example, if you plan to implement a consequence for incomplete chores, ensure that you implement the consequence. If you promise a reward to your child, deliver it. If you promise your child that you will take them to get ice cream when they finish their chores, honor that promise. Ensure that you consistently follow up what you say you will do, even if it inconveniences you or takes more effort on your part. Eliminate repetitive threats, meaningless, empty promises, or unfulfillable agreements. Learn to say it once, avoid using threats, or only act after repeated nagging. Children become parent deaf when there is consistent nagging or yelling. If you ask for something, ensure that you follow up. People will deliver when they know that you will follow up and ask for the requested behavior or item. Example, once the allocated time to use digital devices is up, ask them to turn off all devices and put it up. If you have small children, ensure that these devices are out of sight or out of reach. Many parents fall into the habit of letting resentments build up rather than addressing it promptly. Once you are aware of slacking off behaviors or repeated unfulfilled promises, express it. Do not let it build up, then you will blow up at a later point. Example, to make sure that we stay on task with completing your chores before the weekend, when would you like to set a time to complete your chores? Another example is, let's get into the habit of completing all your homework before playing your games. What is a schedule that will allow you to complete your homework first? Always be on the lookout for small, minor efforts of contribution and express gratitude for completed actions. It demoralizes children and teens when their parents highlight failed attempts or the lack of follow up. So make it a habit to show gratitude and appreciation after completed tasks. Example, I truly appreciate it when you stay on top of all your tasks and complete your chores on time. It helps me when you let me know what schoolwork you have completed each evening. It means a lot to me when you complete all your homework without being asked. I noticed that you honored your curfew time and came in on time today. I appreciate that. Listen to what they are saying or not saying. Do not respond to every question asked. A non response can also mean that you have already answered the question and does not require further explanation or response. Example, children will say things like, do I really have to brush my teeth before I go to bed? Can I play with the Xbox for another hour? I want to spend another hour on my iPad. All of the above questions really do not require a response. To get compliance with mundane tasks that everybody dreads doing, like chores, ask the entire family for a time to complete it as a unit. Put the agreed upon time and date on the calendar and make a midweek reminder about the scheduled cleaning commitment. So during the middle of the week, as a parent, you can remind them, on Saturday morning, we are all going to clean the house from 9:30 to 12:30 in the morning. And if you have any activities with your friends, do plan it after 12:30. Learn to express what you are looking for and learn to state it clearly and ask for it. Avoid stating your request in negative complaints. Instead of saying, I don't like it when you cram in your homework the very last minute. Instead, say, let's plan your time better so you can get your homework completed early in the evening. In closing, it is important to parent in a way that teaches responsibility and make your children feel loved. When you parent with respect and consistency, children feel safe, secure, and protected. Effective parenting helps children excel and also reach their full potential. I'm going to share with you two closing quotes. The first one is by Frederick Douglass. He states that it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Another quote by Charles Swindoll. He says that each day of our lives, we make deposits in the memory banks of our children. Thank you for watching my channel.
Hi, Hi everyone, this is Hardeep again. This video is going to be about validation and specifically how to validate your child. I think this is one of the most important things we can learn as parents, to show up for our child and to just be there for them. So how do we do that? What's the best way to do that? Well, it's around it's about not wanting to reduce their distress. So what that means is that we want to sit there when a child is upset, we want to hear them, we want to listen to them, we want to understand what they're experiencing. Might mean that we have to ask questions. So help me understand that a little bit better. What do you mean by that? Okay, so you're telling me that you're feeling upset with me because you are annoyed that you need to clean your room before you can go and watch TV or play video games. That makes sense. I understand that. That's it. We don't have to fix it. We don't have to say, yeah, but if you just did it, you would be able to go. No, no, no. There's no logic here. That's not what we're doing. All we're doing is we're just expressing the distress. They know that they have to do, but they're annoyed by it, and it's okay for them to be annoyed. We don't want them to feel like they can't be annoyed, that they can't have these negative emotions. Oftentimes, what I see with families, and my own friends and my own family sometimes, is that we want to not allow our children to feel negative feelings. No, let's do that. Let's give them the space to feel those feelings, because we want them to trust that if I am experiencing something negative, if I'm feeling sad, anxious, fear, worried, etc., that somebody is there to handle those big emotions for me. And so I like to say things like, it's okay. Tell me more about that. Tell me what you're experiencing. Tell me what you're feeling. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense to me. I'm sorry that that's going on for you, etc. Those kinds of words you'll see the distress drop for that student, for your child. Strategies that I use really helpful is when my child is crying, I sometimes give them the space to just cry. I'll say, cry as long as you want and as loud as you want. And I am here with you. I will hug you. I will care for you. Just cry, cry it out. And they will cry, cry, cry. And they think it's forever. They've only cried for 2 minutes. I've seen it. I've timed it. And so my daughter said to me the other day, Mommy, when you say to me, cry as long as you want, for some reason, it makes me feel better. And so that is the act of holding space for your child. It's the act of saying to your child, your emotions matter, and I will take the good with the bad. The more you do that, the more you are honoring and supporting them. So this is just about, I've given you a couple of tips and tricks on how. It's not an extensive list, but it's a little bit of information for you so that you can start learning some of the vocabulary and some of the ways that you can express your feelings for your child, and to hold space for them. Thank you so much. I hope this helps, and please try it out. Thank you.
Okay, fathers, 4 excellent videos. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on consistency? And you had great examples. You had a medical doctor, you had a PhD, and you had just a regular everyday mother talking about validation. Those are all excellent examples, fathers. And this is one of the things as men, we're going to have to learn how to come outside ourselves and use resources that can help us become better as men, right? I'm a resource. Grow Dad YouTube channel is all about fathers of daughters, grow dads. That's what I'm doing here. This is my way of giving back. And as you can see, there's a ton of resources out there. YouTube is a great available resource for all fathers. Always do your own research, dads. It's important that we do our own research. If there's any questions, any concerns, you can find a tutorial. You can find answers on YouTube. You just have to sit down and you have to do the work. Research, studies, and solutions. That's what Grow Dad YouTube channel is all about. What we provide here is education through information, through instruction. Okay? So one of my goals is to help fathers understand, like I said earlier, our sense of urgency on how to build long-term sustainable relationships with our baby girls. And as you can see by the videos, fathers, there's so many different ways when it comes to consistency. But the one thing you're going to see is we have to get our routine down as our kids get older. We don't want to overstimulate them. We don't want them so busy that they can't function, right? One of the things I made sure with all my baby girls when they were little girls, when I was introducing them to sports or whatever they wanted to do is always made sure that I didn't overstimulate them. So what that's going to require for fathers is we got to be paying attention to make sure that our children are always at their best, right? Nutritionally, we have to make sure they're nutritionally efficient, not nutritionally deficient. We have to make sure our daughters are nutritionally efficient, fathers, at all times, okay? So consistency, fathers. I had to share those videos, right? And like I said, I just want to see all fathers build sustainable relationships with their baby girls, right? Because we matter in our daughters' lives. They need us in their lives, fathers. They need us to lead them and show them the other side. All right, fathers? So let me get these next videos set up. I will be running probably 3 to 4 videos like the first ones, back to back to back. Hopefully there's some information here that can help you. And maybe it might take you in a direction to, like I said, do your own research. Doing your own research is a beautiful thing. Once you start using the resources at YouTube, unbelievable videos. Visualization can only help us, right? When you're actually hearing from someone else who doesn't look like you, who doesn't talk like you, but can provide resources. We got to take advantage, fathers. We've got to take advantage. Okay, let's get these other videos set up, fathers. Okay, fathers, next videos.
Science at the Child Mind Institute is a remarkable enterprise. In just 10 short years, we've produced over 200 peer-reviewed journal articles, and we have become the leader in neuroimaging in children's mental health worldwide. And we have shared over $1 billion worth of data with scientists everywhere. The Healthy Brain Network is collecting the most comprehensive set of data on the developing brain from kids 5 to 21.
The Healthy Brain Network really is a culmination of a vision to create the landscape for biomarker discovery to help advance that effort. We don't want to look at just that one label or that one aspect. We want to look at the full picture for an individual.
The importance of finding a biomarker is that it is going to take the diagnosis of child mental health disorders to a new level. And that kind of test will give parents more confidence that the diagnosis is correct, but more importantly, it's also going to help us develop precision medicine.
Open science, it's essentially an approach to science that emphasizes transparency and emphasize the sharing of information.
When we talk about open science, whether it be open data sharing, open access tools, or the culture that are embodied in these, what we're really talking about is how do we improve the efficiency and the quality and impact of research.
I'm just constantly amazed at how the child mind is in this area, as well as in understanding the human brain, both basic and clinical science dimensions, is taking an international and important lead.
The vast majority of people in the world don't have access to mental health assessments, let alone care. So the future of psychiatry and care really is in the digital realm, where we can give people access to care wherever they may be. The Matter Lab is dedicated to building wearable devices and smartphone and other technologies to be able to track and better treat children with mental health illnesses.
The innovations developed here allowed us to ask questions that we would never have been able to before. that's really accelerated the pace of research on human brain development.
I'm hopeful that the science we're doing at the Child Mind Institute is going to improve the lives of children who struggle with mental health or learning disorders. It's going to improve our diagnostic procedures. It's going to make treatment more effective. We're very proud of what has happened in the past 10 years, but we're incredibly optimistic of what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
We're focused on changing tomorrow, the way clinical practice is going to happen tomorrow, but we're also helping to deliver the best diagnostic consultations that we can provide today.
Sleep is a powerful restorative process. It helps us function better physically, emotionally, and metabolically. It helps us consolidate and form our memories, and it has a direct effect on our attention and behavior. That means, of course, that reduced sleep leads to reduced capacity to do well in school. Kids who don't get enough sleep might even be mistaken for having ADHD. Some of the symptoms are the same. Kids running low on sleep are less able to concentrate, more easily distracted, and more hyperactive or impulsive. And kids of all ages have a harder time learning when they don't get enough sleep, from fussy, overtired infants to high schoolers nodding off in class. Let's start by talking about the basics of sleep hygiene. Sleep is essential, but many of us, kids and adults alike, don't get enough of it. One of the best ways to get back on track is through better sleep hygiene. This means establishing habits that promote a good night's sleep, like setting a routine. Routines look different at different ages. For example, infants aren't born with the same biological clock that keeps us asleep at night and awake during the day. Instead, infants will sleep for a few hours and then stay awake for a few hours, regardless of the time of day. This is perfectly normal behavior for a newborn, so parents should let them stick to their natural drowsiness patterns and try to sleep when they sleep. To avoid having an overtired baby, parents should reinforce the natural sleep schedule by starting a soothing activity after an hour or so of an infant being awake. As parents, you can also help ease infants into the sleeping patterns you want them to develop by putting them in a sunny room during the daytime and in a dark room at night. Eventually, they'll begin sleeping more at night and napping less and less during the day. As kids get older, a routine should involve an established bedtime because they'll often want to stay up watching TV, playing games, or texting. And because it can be hard for kids to fall asleep after all the stimulation they get from doing those things, the bedtime routine should also involve some screen-free time before bed to help them wind down. The goal is for kids to go to bed already feeling drowsy. Another important element of good sleep hygiene is to make the bedroom a good place for sleeping. The room should be dark and not too distracting. Bedrooms often have glowing alarm clocks, flashing lights, game consoles, and phones that vibrate with each new text. Kids' rooms in particular also tend to be filled with fun toys that claim attention. For the best quality sleep, bedrooms should be cool and comfortable. This can be a struggle with some kids who prefer falling asleep with the weight of a blanket, but then wake up sweaty and uncomfortable. If this is the case with any of the children in your home, try to use thinner blankets and pajamas. One last rule is that the bed should only be used for sleeping. Kids, especially teenagers, use their beds for everything, including homework and watching television. This is actually bad because kids should only associate their beds with sleep. That way, when they're in bed, they know why they're there, and they don't feel like they could be watching TV instead. Consistency is key. The biggest obstacle to getting kids to sleep is often parental inconsistency. Once you've established a routine, stick to it. You want to be predictable. For example, if it's a routine, then your child should know that when they're going to take a bath, and then they're going to hear a bedtime story, and then it's lights out. Not only is predictability soothing, the built-in warning gives them a chance to get sleepy on their own before it's abruptly bedtime. Sticking to a routine doesn't mean that you can't be flexible. Kids are more likely to cooperate when you have their goodwill, so consider building some flexibility into their schedule. For instance, you can let your child know that they can play for 15 minutes and then let them choose whether they want to play before the bath or after. Also, keep in mind that all kids are different, so the sleep routine that worked for one child might not work for their brother. The child's bed, not yours. One of the biggest sleep disruptors is the tendency of some children to go into their parents' room in the middle of the night for comfort. Some kids do this very frequently, and it can be hard on the whole family. If your child wakes up in the middle of the night, you should get them back to their bed as soon as possible. Kids like having these late night interactions with parents, but we should do our best to minimize any reward they might be getting from them. Don't have a long conversation, and don't let them climb into bed with you. For kids who really depend on that comfort and aren't going to fall asleep without it, it's much better for parents to walk kids back to their room and then sit in a chair next to the bed to keep them company until they fall asleep. This can be hard on parents. If your child regularly wakes up, you want to make sure the chair is comfortable, but the kids need to learn that they can sleep on their own. If your child is having serious trouble falling asleep and consistent sleep hygiene isn't working, it's always a good idea to consult a pediatrician. Sleep medication shouldn't be given to children, but other interventions do work. Kids can learn relaxation and self-soothing techniques that help them fall asleep. And as they get older, there are cognitive tools that can help too. I'm Dr. Kenneth Schuster, a clinical neuropsychologist at the Child Mind Institute. Thank you for watching. Head to the Child Mind Institute's Family Resource Center at childmind.org to find hundreds of articles and guides to help kids and families who are struggling with mental health, behavior, or learning challenges. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel below.
Okay, fathers. 2 excellent videos from the Child Mind Institute. All videos that are shared on all my live streams, they're always in the description. So feel free to check them out. Child Mind Institute for Kids is amazing. When I came across, I do tons of research for all my live stream fathers. So when I came across the Child Mind Institute, I was just blown away because when you go to their website and when you go to their YouTube channel, they have all these playlists that are broken down specifically to help parents. So fathers, this is what I do. I do the research for you. I present them through live streams, and then you can do your additional research. That's how easy it is, right? So there's absolutely no reason why fathers should not be on top of it. There's no reason today in 2024. There's no reason. There's no excuses. There's no reason. We have to make time because the resources, they're available to fathers. And like I said, I'm one of very few YouTube channels that actually go deeper when it comes to our daughters because I've been through every stage of development with our baby girls. I have adult women as daughters. So I'm not coming from the perspective of going through it. I've been through it with 4 baby girls. So I know what I'm talking about here, fathers. And I'm sharing with fathers because I want to see you have great relationships with your baby girls. That's what I want to see. Okay, fathers? So the Child Mind Institute, like I said, valuable resource. And feel free, all videos, they are in the description, fathers. Okay? All right. So those were a couple videos that I just shared. And I've got 3 more that are coming up here that are back to back to back. Let me get them set up, fathers. Okay, fathers, here's the next 3 videos.
Hey everybody, my name is MC Ronnie and I have with me Jumpin' Jamie, and we are a part of the Strong for Life Challenge team.
Now today we're going to be talking about things you can do to take care of your bodies and mind and help manage your feelings. Now, have you felt sad or maybe mad lately? Maybe nervous or frustrated? That's okay, it's normal, and you're not alone. And once you realize what you're feeling, there are some things you can do to help make yourself feel better called coping skills.
Coping skills are things we can do to manage our feelings and handle stress. It doesn't have to be difficult or take a long time. We all need to use and practice coping skills regularly so that we get better at them, just like when we practice math, reading, and writing.
Now here's some things you can do. Maybe listen to music, play a sport, think of a happy place, or be active. Well, hey, let's try a few examples together. Now, everybody stand on up, and now let's do 5 jumping jacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent, guys. Now, let's run in place for 10 seconds. Ready? Let's go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Okay, hold on. Now let's slow it down. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes. If not, that's okay. We're going to slowly count backwards from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, let's take a few deep breaths in through our noses and out through our mouth. Yeah. Let's try that one more time. In through our noses and out through our mouth. Great job, guys.
Try lots of different coping skills to find out what works for you and practice them regularly. Many of these skills can be used wherever and whenever you need them. Thank you so much for joining us. See you soon.
I don't know, a feeling to me is something kind of like in our minds that goes through our heart.
Hello, middle school students, aka the future of America. My name is Hari Kundabolu. I'm a comedian, an actor, and unfortunately at times a human being who feels all kinds of emotions that I constantly need to work through. Emotions are one of the most wonderful, confusing, and challenging aspects of being a person. What are they exactly? Why do we have them? And what are we supposed to do when we feel them? And when it comes to intense feelings, it turns out I'm not alone.
Elementary school is like all fun games, Christmas parties, Halloween parties, stuff like that. But middle school is more like pressure, have to get good grades in order to get to a good college. It's really just like a lot of pressure now and more emotions, definitely mad, anger, sadness sometimes. The worst feeling that I felt actually is in school when you're trying not to cry.
Sometimes I cry when when I don't understand something. So that gives you an idea of how sensitive I am.
I feel all the emotions. There's some happiness,
anxious, shame.
How do you explain overwhelm?
Feeling that I have the most is sadness. Behind that sadness, then there's more sadness, pushing that even more from all these other things that are coming back from the past.
I'm super upset because we actually did a funeral of my grandma. It's like really upset. It's like really sad.
When we feel emotions, we can often be feeling a mix of more than one.
I felt anger and happiness. That one was weird. Like You're angry at your sister and you see her fail and you're like,
There's times where I can feel like happy and excited for most things, but then inside I'm like nervous.
it was so many mix of emotions. I couldn't express it.
I'm in like clubs, like some clubs at my school. So like I get nervous because I'm like one of the leaders sort of. So I get nervous on how to be in charge, but I'm excited because I am in charge.
I felt angry and guilty at myself because I'm like, why did you lose that watch? It was on you the whole time. How it was securely strapped on you. How did you lose that?
So, why do we have these feelings? As much as they can be annoying or overwhelming, they communicate useful information to ourselves and everybody around us. Often, our bodies know how we're feeling way before we understand it.
When I'm angry, I'm like vigorously doing these hand motions.
Feel it in my chest and my brain. My brain was just, every time that would happen, my brain would just go in a whirlwind.
My heart and my chest starts like cramping up. Like ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum.
When the teacher calls on me, it kind of like my heart stops and then it goes down all the way down to my legs.
These physical sensations can be a lot. But when this happens, a good first step is to take a deep breath and just observe what's happening in your body. Then label the emotions or multiple emotions that are happening. Maybe notice to yourself what level of intensity it is on a scale of 1 to 10.
Think I'm fairly good at understanding my emotions. When I'm crying for no reason, that's a big telltale.
I did write down that sometimes I don't like being called on without raising my hand.
But writing it down gets it out of you. You've already emptied it and you're just sharing it with somebody. So that definitely helped me out.
If you just talk to someone, it just like makes it feel like an empty canvas.
When I was younger, like 5th and 6th grade, I hated myself like a lot. Like just looking at myself in the mirror, I had a lot of acne then as well. I was overweight, I was short. I just didn't like my appearance at all. I didn't want to like meet up with my friends or talk to people or like girls or anything because I don't know, I just didn't like how I looked. I always wore like baggy clothes and things, and I still kind of do now, but I'm better about it.
After you label your emotion, you might still be feeling it. But by labeling it for yourself, you can help understand what might be going on. And then you can explain your emotion to other people and then have even deeper relationships with them. Ideally, the goal is to have a life where you feel a broad range of emotions, understand what they are, how they're affecting you, and learn how to deal with them.
Anger and frustration.
Our minds are just so weird. It's crazy, and like they're so powerful, and they can make us feel happiness and they can make us feel sadness, but it can be a lot.
Hello, high school students. My name is Hari Kundabolu. I'm a comedian, an actor, and unfortunately at times a human being who feels all kinds of emotions that I constantly need to work through. So I got a group of students together for a few days and we talked about emotions. What are they exactly? And why do we have them? And what are we supposed to do when we feel them?
That's a big one.
I would say a feeling is something in your soul that you know.
You know, as you get older, you develop more feelings to kind of describe who you are. I think feelings are a way of expressing ourselves that we didn't even know we had.
And when it comes to intense feelings, it turns out I'm not alone.
You feel every emotion in the book.
Annoyed.
Anxiety,
Nervousness.
kind of worn out,
Stress, anger.
disappointed.
I think every week there's definitely a bit of overwhelmment. I don't think that's a word.
When we feel emotions, We can often be feeling a mix of more than one.
Anger and frustration and sadness, they all just coincide to one bodily reaction. So it's like I mostly just get frustrated and then like something small happens and then it's just waterworks.
It just felt so nice. It just felt like freedom. Like, oh my gosh, I did it. Like, I like this person a lot, but they did like some ill stuff. I was angry, but I still liked them. Like, I still had feelings for them, and I was angry at the fact that I had feelings for them.
I just can't get over, even now, like, just how sad and mad I felt. Why did I have to cry that hard in class? Sometimes you make a sound when you cry. I almost started just going.
I tend not to cry when things that are typically sad happen. I worry that people are like, man, this guy can't even get attached for like his grandma. Like that's really suspicious. I can't trust this individual.
So, why do we have these feelings? As much as they can be annoying or overwhelming, they communicate useful information to ourselves and everybody around us. Often, our bodies know how we're feeling way before we understand it.
The euphoria felt like as if there were like little fairies just like going through my body. They're just like, and you're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
I think you like feel especially like pride or like excitement here. Like I think there's actually like maybe like a glow or something in your chest that you can feel.
I was so angry. I was shaking.
My heart was pounding and I was like spinning in my head and I was getting hot and I was getting sweaty and I was like hyperventilating and I didn't know why.
I guess it's more like a feeling in my stomach. It's the equivalent of like two bunnies hopping down the road.
These physical sensations can be a lot. But when this happens, a good first step is to take a deep breath and just observe what's happening in your body. Then label the emotions or multiple emotions that are happening. Maybe notice to yourself what level of intensity it is on a scale of 1 to 10.
They range from like 5 to like 10 sometimes. During tests, it's 11.
I feel like I can, label the feelings that I'm feeling pretty early on, early enough to where I can say, hey, I feel a not so good feeling coming.
I'm really good at knowing my emotions. I'm not very good at expressing them because I was like, you know what, like I'm dealing with it. I'm doing it on my own. But now I'm like, you know what, it's good to like tell people how you feel. And like, if the person who's making you feel bad doesn't know they're making you feel bad, they can't fix anything.
After you label your emotion, you might still be feeling it. But by labeling it for yourself, you can help understand what might be going on. And then you can explain your emotion to other people and then have even deeper relationships with them. Ideally, the goal is to have a life where you feel a broad range of emotions, understand what they are, how they're affecting you, and learn how to deal with them.
Okay, fathers. Excellent videos. What are your thoughts? Sharing with you the different stages of development of our children, our baby girls, right? You had primary grades, you had middle school and high school, and the consistency that we need to have with our children, right, is going to allow this open dialogue and open communication. Okay, I made sure with all my baby girls in every stage of development, fathers, that I paid attention, that I listened, right? And this is the key. One of the keys for consistency, fathers, is being available for our baby girls. Because our kids are going to be going through a lot of times, particularly when our little girls get to middle school, they're going to be going through it. Because in my book, Daddy's Girls, which is available at Amazon.com, I talk about middle school being the mean girl stage. And that's exactly what it is. It's the mean girl stage. I'm a former teacher. restorative justice coordinator, and dean of students. I talk about this. I worked in K-12 education for 10 years. I worked in the criminal justice system for 20 years. So I have 30 years of experience of directly working with children from all socioeconomic backgrounds and or cultures. So I know what I'm talking about here, fathers. So the consistency that we have to make sure is our availability more than anything else. We have to be available to our kids. We have to be paying attention, fathers. Okay? We have to understand their moods, their mood swings, their emotional highs, their emotional lows. We have to be a part of that success. Okay, fathers, I have 4 videos left. And what I'm going to present to you is why children cut themselves. What is cutting? Okay? So we're going to take a look at these 4 videos, and then we will end this live stream. All right, fathers, let me get them set up.
Hi, I'm Dr. Craig Sawchuk.
Okay, fathers, last 4 videos.
Hi, I'm Dr. Craig Sawchuk, a clinical psychologist with Mayo Clinic. After 25 years of meeting with patients of all ages and backgrounds, I'd like to share some information about a behavioral condition called non-suicidal self-injury or self-harm. Self-injury is doing deliberate harm to your own body, like cutting or burning yourself. And it's more common than you might think. In a recent year, self-injury led to over 300,000 emergency room visits. Most often, self-injury is a way to use physical pain to distract from emotional pain. It may be done to try to get some sense of control or relief from intense urges or emotions, or to punish yourself for perceived faults. Even if suicide is not your intent, self-injury can be serious or even fatal. Getting help now can teach you or someone you care about much healthier ways to cope. There are some emotional triggers for self-injury to be on the lookout for, starting with difficulties in your personal relationships. Also, if you're struggling with strong emotions or feeling helpless, hopeless, or worthless. Here are some of the most common signs of self-injury to look for in someone you care about. Fresh cuts, scratches, bruises, bite marks, burns, scars, often in patterns. If a person constantly keeps sharp objects on hand, wears long sleeves and long pants, even in hot weather to conceal their injuries. Many people self-injure themselves only a few times and then stop. But for others, it can become a repetitive and dangerous long-term behavior. The urge to engage in self-harm can be hard to control. If you're injuring yourself, even in a minor way, or if you have thoughts of harming yourself, reach out for help. Any self-injury is a sign of things that need to be addressed. Even though it might feel embarrassing or difficult, start by talking to someone you know and can trust, like a friend, healthcare provider, spiritual leader, school counselor, nurse, or teacher. Ask them to help you take the first step to get the supportive, non-judgmental care you need. If you think you may hurt yourself or even attempt suicide, call 988 now. It's free and confidential. If you're severely hurt or it's an emergency situation, call 911 immediately. If you have a friend or family member who is self-injuring, the discovery can be a bit scary or shocking. Here's some ways you can help. Express your concern, but be calm and avoid making accusations, threats, or ultimatums. For your own child, consult their pediatrician or healthcare provider to help them get an initial evaluation or a referral to a mental health professional. If it's a young friend of yours, suggest they talk to their parents, a teacher, school counselor, or trusted adult. And for an adult, it's best to gently express your concern and encourage them to seek medical and mental health treatment. Self-injury is simply too big of a problem to ignore. You don't have to deal with it by yourself. Take the next step and reach out. We wish you well.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shamika Dixon, a pediatrician and adolescent medicine specialist. Evidence shows that 14 to 20% of adolescents engage in self-harm behaviors. And it's not always because they want to die. Some teens engage in what's called non-suicidal self-injury. They might want to decrease feelings of stress and being overwhelmed. The self-harm provides momentary relief from those feelings. Some teens want to punish themselves, and the self-harm provides the relief because they feel like they deserved it. Some teens harm themselves to elicit attention and care from loved ones, but many do it in ways their loved ones will not notice. That's why it can be easy to miss signs of self-harm, and it's not your fault. If you find out your teen is engaging in self-harm, try to communicate openly without judgment, scolding, or punishment. Create a safety plan and know when to bring your child in for an emergency evaluation. Lock up sharp objects, weapons, and medications, and create a predetermined list of actions to take if your child starts feeling like hurting themselves. You should also call your pediatrician, who can help you develop a plan that might include things like therapy to help your teen develop safer and healthier ways to cope with emotions. Your pediatrician can be your partner in supporting your teen. Learn more about local crisis resources and know how to contact the crisis text line and suicide hotline 988 if needed.
We all have secrets. We all have secrets, but some secrets are more dangerous than others. And what if there is no one you can tell your secrets to, and this secret is hurting you? This is not the end. There are ways to break this cycle. I'm here with two experts to talk about this issue.
Hi, my name is Leon. I'm a community mental health practitioner from Shine Children and Youth Services.
Hello, I'm Cindy, a psychologist from KK Women's and Children's Hospital, Psychology Service.
Firstly, let's define what self-harm is.
Self-harm is a behavior where someone intentionally causes harm or injury to themselves. It's known as non-suicidal self-injury, NSSI for short, or deliberate self-harm, DSH.
Why does self-harm happen?
Well, self-harm is often used as a strategy to deal with distressing emotions, thoughts, memories, or experiences.
And what causes these things?
Well, there could be many different possible stressors in a person's life: an increase in school pressure, breakdown in relationships, health issues, abuse, or even financial stress.
or even a combination of all these things?
Yes, so self-harm is a form of communication, a cry for support. It's an outward expression of pain or even the unhelpful thought of having to punish oneself for having feelings.
So someone who is self-harming is trying to express something that they cannot put into words and is using physical pain to do so.
Yes, because they want to stop feeling numb and disconnected. Pain is therefore one way for them to at least feel something, turning their emotional pain into physical pain.
So how does one turn emotional pain into physical pain?
Through self-harming behaviors such as cutting, burning, hitting oneself, or non-lethal overdosing.
And where do these injuries occur?
So they're commonly found on the wrist, arms, stomach, or thighs.
It's also important to note that people who self-harm may tend to conceal their injuries by wearing long sleeves pants, even on a hot day.
Can self-harm occur at any age?
Yes, so people who self-harm may do so only once, others more frequently, and some for many years.
Is self-harming natural or learned, like from social media?
Usually, when a person is experiencing emotional distress and at the same time lack the skills to be able to cope with these distressing feelings and thoughts, they may engage in self-harming to fill that role to help themselves feel better. Of course, some may think about the influence of social media and of seeing others engaging in self-harm. This may influence them to engage in self-harm themselves to help themselves feel better.
And are people who self-harm a danger to others?
While people who self-harm are typically experiencing significant emotional struggles, they may not necessarily pose a danger to others. Self-harm is a form of expression of internal struggles and is a way to cope with their own emotions and feelings. In fact, these individuals are vulnerable and require support and understanding rather than to be perceived as a threat to others.
And what are the consequences that people don't realize or don't know about self-harming?
So other than the physical concerns of scarring and in more severe situations, nerve damage, there is also the perpetuation of a negative cycle of emotions such as guilt or shame. So people who self-harm may feel ashamed or embarrassed of their self-harming behaviors and in turn withdraw socially. In the long term, this may cause a strain in their relationships with their family, friends, and romantic partners.
So the cycle of self-harm needs to be broken. The urge to self-harm often leads to actual self-harm, which can bring temporary relief but quickly result in feelings of guilt and shame, which can in turn further maintain or worsen the emotional distress and the desire to cope via self-harm again.
How do I identify individuals who are at risk of self-harm?
Identifying individuals at risk of self-harm requires understanding the potential warning signs and risk factors associated with these behaviors. The concealment of injuries is one such factor. Others may include changes in sleeping habits and eating patterns. People who engage in self-harm also express emotional distress. So this may be observed in changes like mood swings and also the expression of suicidal intentions. They may also start to withdraw from social interactions.
And how would you stop more people from self-harming?
Prevention of self-harm is a multifaceted approach. Promotion of mental health awareness and provision of accessible mental health resources are some ways of helping those in need. Assisting them to identify their triggers of self-harm and subsequently providing them with more adaptive coping strategies are some ways as well to support them. For those who require more targeted interventions, supporting them by offering referrals to mental health care professionals will also be useful.
So indeed, a multifaceted approach is important. It is also important to tackle barriers to reaching out for those who engage in self-harm, one of which could be the stigma associated with self-harm, where some may see it as attention-seeking. Well, the good news is we can all start to break this stigma, where instead of seeing it as an attention-seeking behavior, let's perhaps see it as a connection-seeking behavior, where this is a sign that someone is struggling and is in need of social connections to support himself or herself through these struggles. And when more and more people feel okay to seek out support for self-harm, we can then stop more people from self-harming.
Then how do I support a friend who self-harm or who I think self-harms?
First of all, it's important to remember that it's not always easy to seek out help. So when a friend does, remember to approach this with empathy, compassion, and an open mind. Remember to show them concern and provide an open space for them to share. Try not to pressure them to share beyond what's comfortable and never divulge information that they have not given consent to.
Yes, it can be very difficult for someone to stop engaging in this behavior overnight, and they will need time and support. So we really need to exercise greater empathy, compassion, and patience in supporting those around us who engage in self-harm to support them through their pain.
Yes, and when your friend is ready, offer them the support to seek out and engage in healthier coping strategies, such as something that is a pleasurable activity to them, and even engaging it together with them so that there is some support system for them. Otherwise, it's also good to help seek out and explore community options and services that can help to promote well-being and those who require support.
So supporting a friend who engages in self-harm or whom you think is engaging in self-harm can be emotionally challenging. So it is normal to feel anxious, worried, or scared. And sometimes these feelings stop us in our tracks. You can reach out to all of us.
So if I put myself in the shoes of a youth who self-harms and I want to tell someone about it, how do I do that?
So first, know that wanting to seek out help is a great first step. Second, seek out the help from people whom you trust. So friends, families who you know that can listen out for your emotional struggles without judgment.
So like a trusted friend, family member, or school teacher?
Yes, and there's also the Temasek Foundation Youth Connect program. This is an initiative between KKH and Temasek Foundation. This is in collaboration with the psychology faculty at James Cook University, Singapore, to develop materials and resources to be used in the community. We also work with school counselors and mental health organizations and practitioners, such as Shine Children and Youth Services, to support those in need to promote the well-being of youth.
Yes, so it is important for any youth out there who hopes to seek support for self-harm to remember that you are not alone and you don't have to be. And to everyone else, it is our hope that with a better understanding of self-harm through our sharing, together we can create a safer, more supportive environment that can empower our youth to seek help, embrace healing, and foster resilience in their lives.
Talk about whether I'm Louis Weinstock, and I'm a child psychotherapist. And I'm here to talk about whether there is a connection between self-harm and social media. So the report today that's come out from the Children's Society is really repeating something that we've been aware of for a while, which is that young people are becoming more and more distressed, they're more anxious, they're more depressed, and most worryingly, they're turning to some methods, self-harming methods, to help them cope with what appears to be a very stressful life in the 21st century. I've seen in my clinical practice a rise in signs of distress and self-harm, and I'm fairly convinced actually that there is a clear connection between this and the rise in smartphones, digital technology, and social media. It's not the only reason, but it's a really important reason that I think we need to look at. Since the 1970s, there's been a rise in depression, there's been a rise in suicide and suicidal thoughts amongst young people. So it is overall quite a gloomy picture in terms of young people's mental health. And for me, it's particularly interesting because at a time when arguably young people are more comfortable than ever before, they have what seems like everything that they need at their fingertips At the same time, we're seeing this rise in distress and a rise in self-harm. So whilst we are trying to make everything go faster, quicker, make our lives more convenient and more comfortable, there's kind of this murky, dark truth that lies underneath it, that we can't just keep improving everything all the time rapidly without losing something. And I think one of the key things that's been lost in the rise of smartphone use and social media is the need for human beings to connect with each other in person, face to face. We know from science that human beings need real face-to-face connections to feel well and to feel safe. And with the rise in social media, we know that young people are spending less time actually hanging out in real life with other young people. They're spending more time in their bedrooms, more time on their screens. And the same is true for the parents as well. So if there is one really important message that's coming through all of this, it's that we need to find ways to encourage more real face-to-face connection between young people and actually just between all of us in general. Whilst there can be many wonderful benefits to social media, I do fear that sometimes scrolling through your social media feed, especially for a young person, can be a little bit like self-harming in itself, as you're looking through all of these fake fantasy, amazing, ideal pictures and lifestyles that people are really encouraged to promote on social media. So it's a bit like you're injecting yourself every time you go on with a shot of just envy, feeling left out, feeling that you're not good enough. To combat this rise in self-harm on an individual level, any young people who may be experiencing distress, I would really encourage them to reach out and speak to someone. If there's somebody in their family that they can speak to, then that's great. If there's somebody at school, maybe there's a nurse or a counselor that they can reach out to. And if they do that, I really do believe that there is help available for them. I've worked with a lot of young people who have self-harmed and have recovered completely from this behavior. Just by reaching out and getting help, you're giving yourself the best possible chance.
Okay, fathers, self-harm. It's real. It's definitely real. I saw it a lot when I was a probation officer and dean of students, middle school, high school. So we just have to make sure we got to be paying attention, fathers, consistency. When we're consistent, we'll know. Okay, we got to keep our eyes and our ears open, fathers. So it's another live stream, fathers. And hopefully I was able to share it with you today. Something that can help you become better as a father, right? And as long as we're consistent, fathers, like I said, we're going to be in the forefront of relationship building with our baby girls always. Okay. And just got to put in that work. Birth to 18. We got to put in a lot of work, fathers. But the rewards are great and they're plentiful. Trust me. Our daughters will end up being amazing young women and women. Okay, fathers. It's another live stream. Appreciate you. Appreciate you hanging out with a brother today. Kiss them babies, love them babies. And let's have a good week. Let's have a good weekend. And let's continue to do what we do as fathers. Okay, mi amigos. Hasta próxima semana. I'm out. Until next week, fathers. Keep your heads up. Do what you do, dads. I will holler at you next week. Peace.